Hey everybody, so we all have voices in our heads. It's just the way that our minds work, and it's important to distinguish between those voices. Hi, I'm Fran Gallagher. I'm your guide to relationships, meditation, and intuition. So, any voice that is critical, we're just going to put that voice into the category of the superego. The superego is the inner critic or the judge within. The superego is a combination of every voice of authority that produced the guidance we call conditioning. The idea of wearing your shirt right side out, making sure you have clothes on before you go outside for the most part, uh, making sure you bring a coat when you're cold, when it's in the winter. The voice of the superego can also be thought of as the agent of social conditioning. So, if you've ever been around a kid who sits upside down in a chair when you are attempting to talk with them, they are not conditioned in that moment. Now, they might be just having fun. They might be young, or they might be older and playing with you to see what you do if you are trying to have a conversation with them. All that is good. But we don't expect an adult to come into our office and sit upside down in the chair because we expect that they have received adequate social conditioning. So we can be grateful for our social conditioning. You probably know how to behave in a restaurant. When I worked as a waitress, back when it was called being a waitress, now it's called being a server, uh, there were people who we jokingly talked about who were either restaurant broke or they weren't restaurant broke. Nowadays, that's not as much of a deal because more people go to restaurants. But when I was a kid, and I'm one of seven children, we didn't go to a restaurant very often. So a restaurant and knowing how to behave in a restaurant intimidated me. And that's why I became a waitress. And it was a great way to become restaurant broke. So this idea of social conditioning in some ways is a blessing, but in other ways it can be a curse. Your superego might be very, very busy sometimes. And the way we know that it is the superego is it makes us feel small and less than. So, one example of the superego is if you were a child and you spilled milk. There were many times probably when you spilled milk when you didn't know it was a problem. There was a day when you spilled milk, mom got upset, and the light bulb went on, and you realized you weren't supposed to spill milk. So now, if you spill milk, or in my case, red wine, or coffee, or anything like that, you're going to, at least for a moment, you're likely to feel small and less than. That is, it will activate the shame and blame that you felt when you spilled milk and you were conscious of that being wrong or a problem. Another way to say it is you were conscious of your superego and it attacked you. So any voice that makes us feel small and less than, we are going to lump into the category of the superego. Then there are voices who that might come from your mom or your dad who are still having taking up residence in your head, or someone who took up residence in your head for a while, maybe an old partner, someone you dated. You may occasionally just hear their voice in your head. The last voice would be the voice of intuition, and that might also sometimes be the voice of guidance. These voices, they are generally neutral. They generally don't have a personality that we could say is associated with them. Uh, they are also neutral in that they are not criticizing you. They are neutral in that it is a suggestion. Even get out now can sound like a suggestion. Uh, Most of the time, for me, either an intuitive insight, or guidance will not be repeated more than twice. And even twice can be unusual. So, for you to be aware of these different voices in your head is going to acclimate you to your own head and allow you to have choice about which ones you're going to encourage, which ones you're going to pay attention to. If you feel small and less than, you want to stop and notice that and then dismiss whatever that voice told you. There you go again, or whatever it might be. And as we learn to discern between the things going on in our heads and make a choice about how we want to feel, what we want to listen to, we're going to create space for the occasional quiet. And here's where meditation comes in. So, when you start meditating, a lot of people are going to say, wow, my brain got really active. Yes, it will, because you're finally paying attention to it. So you may, when you first start meditating, you may need to keep a pen and paper to just jot down ideas that you get, because your mind is going to be like a kindergartner. And then, let's remember to buy milk. And so we could spell it. No, that's a joke. And there will be ideas that come crowding in. Just write them down at first. You'll settle down. uh, One time a woman came to me after I had been leading a meditation, and she said, I just want to tell you that I'm unusual and I can't meditate. And I already knew what the problem was, but I said, oh, really? How long are you meditating for? And may I add that she had told me that she was new to meditation and had discovered that she couldn't meditate. I said, how long are you meditating for? And she said, an hour. Well, an hour is too long if you don't have skills around meditation. So it's going to be miserable. And yes, your brain, your superego is going to attack you and tell you you're wasting time, because you are. And there are better ways to start. So on Fridays, I'm doing a guided visualization. So you might want to listen to one of those. They are fairly short and they're a great way. Guided visualization is a great way to occupy your mind with a narrative that is a story, so that your mind's natural interest in stories will therefore occupy it and create some peace for you. So begin to pay attention to the voices in your head. And if there are any voices that tell you to do something that would harm you or another person, any voices that frighten you, you may need to speak with a doctor or a therapist, because we want to have a good neighborhood in our own heads. So thank you for joining me. Stay safe wherever you travel. Bye bye.